that we're good. I think that you can hear us. If you start getting any issues, let us know. So we're going to go ahead and dive in. So today we're going to be talking about. I'm Michelle, and I'm with Image in a Box.
This is Justin. Hey guys, I got my coffee and I'm ready to chat it up with you.
All right, today we're going to be talking about why your Facebook insights alone or social media insights alone are not enough. So we're going to dive into that today.
So before we dive into why those metrics aren't enough, let's lay some terms down and get everybody on the same page. So as you know, I'm a hand talker, so I'm going to have these guys flying around. What are some of the social media metrics, Michelle, that you would see within Facebook, maybe even Instagram, those kind of things?
So essentially, when you talk about metrics from social media accounts, you have two different sides of the metrics. You've got your vanity metrics, and then you've also got some different metrics that aren't vanity specific. So the vanity metrics are going to be more of an external type, metric that you basically anybody that views your page or your social account can actually see those metrics. So that's going to be things like your follower count or the amount of engagement and comments that you get on a post. So, how many people are liking things, how many people are commenting on things. Now, Instagram is a whole different story because they're rolling out some changes and experimenting with not showing the like count and stuff. But essentially, you have those vanity metrics that sometimes people as marketers and social media marketers specifically, a lot of times people get hung up on that, where they're basically saying like, I want to increase my follower count, or I want to increase the amount of likes that I get on a post, but you sometimes get too hung up on those vanity metrics. So just try to remember that those alone aren't the full picture.
So the vanity metrics I could see on somebody else's page that I don't own or
Correct.
work with. Okay,
Correct.
so I could see basically how many people have liked something and those kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so those are from the outsider, and an admin would see that as well, right?
Correct.
Okay. So what if I own the page? We work with other companies, we work with their Facebook page, but then we've got Image in a Box. What kind of metrics would I see there?
So when you have page admin access, you can actually see, more detailed information. So you can see the impressions, the amount of reach that your posts are getting. And then also from a story perspective, so like on Facebook and Instagram, when you do stories, those metrics of engagement and viewership and all of that are more of an internal metric, even though they're along the same lines as some of the vanity metrics. But those posts, since they're not public for the commenting side and that sort of thing, you can't actually see those externally. So you have, your interactions and discovery and reach that you can view on the stories and stuff, and that's actually more of a internal metric. But you can see demographic information, engagement information, and all of those sorts of things. And one thing to note there that a lot of times that people that we come in contact with, and we do classes and stuff here locally in Huntsville, and actually we've done some on Facebook related type talks, and when we get in there we realize how many people don't actually know the difference between just having a Facebook page and then also having a Facebook business manager account. And so we have a couple links there to help. If you don't have a business manager account, you definitely need to get that set up, because that allows like a whole new level of Facebook, and the insights turn into more of like an analytical thing, and we'll probably dive a little bit more into that later.
And I think we'll post that link on how to create a business manager account at the end of the talk. It will be in the comment section, so just look for that in the comments there. So we've got all these metrics. From a marketer, you see the vanity. It's great. You like, oh, look how awesome that post is done. I know I do it because I love it when we post something, especially in our Boxing for a Cause initiative, that, hey, it got 200 reach. That's awesome. I like the vanity numbers. The insights are great for a marketing standpoint, right? Would you say? So how could a marketer use those metrics? Like, what are they used for?
Well, so it really just depends on your goals as an organization and goals in your role. Because if your sole goal is to be like a social media marketer for your company, or if your company is really trying to grow a community online and those sorts of things, then you may have goals around specific amount of follower counts that you're trying to get to because you've seen that X percentage of those actually tend to engage more or become more ingrained in the community, the social community that you're doing. So you need to think about what your goals are and then back up to say, well, what metrics should I monitor around those vanity metrics? Because they are, they have merit. I'm not saying they're completely pointless, but, you can actually, um, the amount of likes that you have per se doesn't necessarily mean how much engagement, how much sales, how much anything you're going to get. Because if all these people follow your page but they don't engage with any of the content that you create, then there's not what's the point. So think about goals when you are trying to tie it back to those vanity metrics.
And that's where the boss is going to say, how did what you did on social media affect the bottom line?
Right, and so that's where, a lot of times with small business owners or, if you have a higher level boss and you're trying to align your marketing efforts with the company goals, there's usually always going to be some kind of revenue and sales target that you're trying to hit. And so in order to prove value, a lot of times you need to tie that back to a sales number. So you need to be able to keep up with how many sales and how much traffic you are driving that is converting in some form or fashion on, your website and that sort of thing. And so that's where, the business manager comes into play in a big piece, because if you don't set up a business manager account, then you're missing out on a whole slew of analytics within the Facebook ecosystem and the Instagram ecosystem. So you really need to look into getting a business manager account. Go do that as soon as this live is over, because there's so much power in that and the Facebook pixel, which we will also provide a link to that to allow you to see how to set that up, because both of those together can really get you going into a better approach of monitoring.
Okay, let's back up real quick. And this is something I always like to teach and make sure everyone understands is goals. Goals are great to have, but just setting a goal of, hey, I want to increase revenue by 300%. Well, that's a good goal, but there's nothing specific around it. So what we like to say in the Image in a Box world, and what we try to educate all of our people who come to classes, come to our teaching, those kind of things, is SMART goals. What is a SMART goal? A SMART goal is specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-oriented. So if you think about back to that example of the 300%, I want to increase your revenue by 300%. You can't just say that's a SMART goal. Yet it's got a specific element of revenue by 300%, but there's no time. And is it realistic for your business? Have you ever done 300% before? Maybe you have, maybe you haven't. That's where these goals can help you set realistic goals and attainable goals and time-oriented goals. I can't say it enough, but that's where I see a lot of small businesses to even large companies, they don't set those SMART goals. And what happens is they're like, oh, well, I hit it or I didn't hit it. Well, why not? Well, there's a lot of factors that go into it.
Well, and a lot of times people get hung up on the goal piece where they're like, like that's just going to like put a hiccup in.
I can't do my day to day.
It's going to dampen my, what I'm trying to get done. It's going to slow me down. But what it really does is it helps motivate you and helps you have like a guiding force to then make sure that what you're doing is actually in line with your business objectives. So I definitely always recommend you thinking about that and then figuring out how you can measure it, whether it be through your website traffic or through your social media realm of metrics.
Okay, so we've set these great SMART goals. Now I've got to measure them. what tools, specifically in the social world, what tools could I use to measure those goals?
Well, so there's basically there's Facebook Analytics, which again, if you don't have the Business Manager account and the Pixel, then you're going to be very limited. So you need to get those things set up right away. I can't express that enough.
Step 1, Business Manager.
So you need to set that up so that you can see, get better data than your insights alone. And that's why, we're coming to you today in this live to talk about that the insights alone aren't enough, because the insights are just a very abbreviated amount of information, and it's very centric to only your Facebook page. So if you open up and get the Business Manager set up and get the Facebook Pixel running on your website, then the Facebook Analytics is going to give you more of a holistic view of, here's how my social media page is doing, but then here's how my website is also doing in conjunction with that. So it turns into more of a full ecosystem.
Wow.
And so that's why it's very powerful. And then there's also Google Analytics, which Justin can talk a little bit about that, but we recommend using both because they both have pros and cons.
Yeah, so with Google Analytics, sort of like the Facebook Pixel, you install a little tracking code on your website, and you can get a wealth of information around your website. Now, you can install the Google Analytics on Facebook, but you can install it on your website just as like you would install the Facebook Pixel. And when you do that, like Michelle said, you can start cross-referencing information. You then can do really cool targeting in both platforms.
Correct.
Which is great from the marketing side, because you could say build a lookalike audience. I know I threw out another term that some people might not know, but you can build all these different audiences to use in your marketing, which is huge, because you want people who are interested in your brand, interested in your Facebook page, or even interested in your website. When you have these tracking pixels installed, you can get additional information to use in your day-to-day decision making.
Correct. And that's what's key. And it's not just in decision making, but it's also in making your advertising dollars go further. Because if you're just simply using the Facebook page manager as your only source of, looking at insights to see, just generally how your posts are doing, or if you're only doing, if you're only running your ads through the page itself, like the page admin, and you don't actually have a Business Manager account, then you are truly missing out. So I cannot stress that enough, because when you set up the Pixel, then your advertising options and the way that you can set up your audiences is, going to take your advertising to the next level. And so the same thing with Google Analytics, and that's why we recommend both, because you've got to think, you've got the whole Google Ads side of the ecosystem, and then you also have the Facebook Ads side of the ecosystem. And so the way those systems work is they use those pixels as, ways to improve their ad performance, and it's almost like a feedback loop where the information on how people are interacting with your site and your ads, which are in their ecosystem, they basically take all that information and feed it back into their algorithms to better serve their end customer that is clicking through on the ads, because they want me as the advertiser to be happy because I get better conversions, but they also want to make the experience of the user that is on their platform, they want to serve them the most appropriate ads, because otherwise they're going to be like, I don't want to get on this platform anymore because it's getting on my nerves. It's showing me all these ads that are irrelevant to me. And so I think it's definitely, key to think about both platforms.
So both platforms allow you to measure these goals.
Yes.
So that's why the first step is always to define those goals, because then in Facebook Analytics and in the Facebook Pixels, you can create, I think they're called Facebook conversions or custom conversions in that sense. And then also in Google Analytics, you can set up goals. And then you can use the conversion tracking section of Google Analytics as well. And again, that's why defining these goals first, so then you know what conversion metrics to set up in each respective
Correct.
platform, would then allow you to easily say, boss walks in, I want to know how many leads have come in the last 30 days. Well, if you don't have these conversions set up, you can't pull the number. Right. You're going to be, and we never want to put you in that situation. So that's why we try to educate everybody. Goals first, then execution, because then you can easily report on those goals. Mm-hmm. So both of these analytical platforms are free to use, right? There's no cost around those?
Correct. You just would set them up, and then I guess the cost is your time to set them up, and then also put them on your platform, or get someone to help you if you don't like messing with the codes.
Yeah, so she's talking about putting the pixel on the Facebook pixel on your website, and same thing with the Google Analytics code. The beautiful thing is, if you use a site builder or if you use WordPress or anything like that, there's millions of plugins out there to do that. You can even search our blog. I think there's a couple tips there on how to get that installed. Also on our blog is a whole article around SMART goals that you could check out too. We'll try to post that in the comments as well. So any last bits there before we wrap this live session up?
No, I don't think so. I know you have something to let everybody know about.
Yeah, so we have a great way to get a lot more familiar with Google Analytics. It's a 9-day right to your phone through a text of how to get more familiar. You'll go from, oh no, it seems scary, it's this huge platform, to feeling really confident to using it. We'll post the phone number to text, and you can get daily short videos. I mean, like...
Yeah, I think the longest video is like maybe 9 minutes. But it essentially, it goes through the very specific about teaching you about what all those reports mean, and basically
terms you'll see in there.
Right, and letting you know a little bit about the privacy policy, because I know that's a big thing going on right now with just worrying about privacy laws and all that. So it helps you know how to set that up. And then if you are starting out in Google Analytics and you don't have a lot of historical data already, then it shows you how to set up a demo account so that you can follow along with the videos and learn more about that. So it basically is going to help you understand all those overview reports from more of an application standpoint than just like, oh, this is the bounce rate, this is the page view, it's actually going to go through like how to apply that from a marketing standpoint.
So we'll put that in the comment, what to text and what phone number to text, and you'll get it for 9 days. Basically, you will feel a lot more confident in Google Analytics, and that's what we want. We want people to understand the power of these tools.
Correct. So I guess now we can open it up to questions. I see it looks like we have a few questions, so I will jump up
Let's
here
see if I can pull them over here. Let's see what we got. Any questions there?
No, it was more people talking about hearing. So anybody have any questions?
If you've got a question, leave it in the comment. We'll be monitoring it. I think we might have had one pop in. But check that out. We can always, we'll respond to those comments as well. Let's see.
So the question is, do the stories have a different impact since they're only 24 hours? Yeah, I mean, stories have a completely different sort of objection. Like you've got to think about it from a perspective of what you're trying to do. Stories are more to get you in front of people, well, at least from my experience with them. So everybody has like a different goal and a different use case. But my experience with them would be more of you're basically trying to provide some behind the scenes type stuff. You're also trying to, engage with them in such a way where you're like, asking them questions and letting them have your audience feel like that they have a way to become an insider. So like, asking them questions about what would you like us to launch for our next product or those sorts of things, or what is your biggest pain point, or in our use case, what are some areas of Google Analytics that you don't understand that we could help with? So you can ask those kinds of questions with the polls. And then the other nice thing about stories, especially on Instagram, is that actually broadens your reach, because you can actually create your story, and then you can include a city. So if you're a geographical based business, so if you have a storefront, you can actually set your geographic location, and then it's going to show up in people's like when they're searching broader in Instagram, they'll actually see your post show up, because you've targeted a location. And then also, if they follow hashtags and stuff, then they'll be able to see those posts more easily with the story. So you can really broaden your reach a lot with the story piece. And then also, the other thing I was going to mention about the stories was that they are very I forgot what that last thing was going to be. Sorry. So
if she thinks about it, we'll
I'll
comment on it, those kind of things. So I don't see any other questions right now, but again, if you watch the video later, drop the question inside the chat. We'll get the notification, and we'll try to get a good timely response there on it as well.
Yeah, great. Thanks for tuning in with us today. We'll be back here next week, and I'm looking forward to it. Oh, I think I see one more.
Yep. So the question is, does Image in a Box provide consultation on Facebook ad campaigns as well as how to measure performance using the insights? So Bob will follow up with you with a direct message, because that's more directly related to you, and go from there.
But yes, we do provide consultation on that piece, as well as just overall marketing metrics and how to measure those. So just so everybody else is aware. Michelle,
did you have fun?
Yeah, I hope everybody else did, and we'll be around the same time next week. We will be on here, so be sure to tune in then, or if you can't, catch us afterwards on our page.
Signing off from Huntsville at Image in a Box, I'm Justin.
Michelle, thanks.
Y'all have a great day.